What do you do when the world knocks you down so hard that the ground itself feels like home? When failure whispers in your ear that you should stay where you are, broken, defeated, invisible? That moment, right there, the one when your knees buckle, your chest aches, and your dreams feel like shattered glass scattered across the floor, that is the defining moment of your life. Not the victories, not the applause, not the easy days. It is in the collapse, in the silence after the fall. Greatness is either buried forever or resurrected in fire. You see, anyone can rise when the sun is shining, when the path is clear, when the world claps for you. But the true test is when no one believes in you, when even you stop believing in yourself. That is when you must reach deep into a part of you so raw, so unbreakable, that it forces you to stand when your body screams to quit. That is the secret of giants. That is the code of legends. Think about Thomas Edison. Thousands of failed experiments. Thousands of nights where doubt must have weighed heavier than hope. He could have stayed on the floor, buried under ridicule and exhaustion. But he rose again and again, until the darkness finally bowed to his persistence and the world lit up with his vision. Or take Abraham Lincoln, defeated in business, rejected in politics, crushed by loss after loss, yet each time he was knocked down, he clawed his way back to his feet until history crowned him as one of the greatest leaders who ever lived. Their secret wasn't brilliance alone. It wasn't luck. It wasn't connections. Their secret was the refusal to stay down. The iron law they lived by: rise again. Even when broken. Even when humiliated. Even when no one is watching. Because the ground is not where you belong. You belong standing, reaching, fighting. You belong in the arena. And let me tell you something, life will test you with blows that feel unfair, unbearable, impossible. You'll lose things you thought you couldn't live without. You'll watch dreams burn, friendships dissolve, opportunities vanish. And in those moments, the temptation to stay down will be louder than your heartbeat. But if you choose to rise, if you choose to defy that voice of surrender, you rewrite the story of your life. Rising again is not just about achievement, it's about identity. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, I am not done yet. I am not finished here. This is not where my story ends. The world respects the one who refuses to give up, because persistence itself bends reality. Imagine a seed pushed into the dark soil, buried, unseen, forgotten. It looks like death, but it's not. Inside, a force is building, quietly, invisibly, relentlessly, until one day it cracks through the dirt and rises into the light. That's you. Every fall, every defeat, every humiliation is nothing more than soil pressing down on your destiny. But if you force yourself to rise again, nothing can stop the growth that follows. You have to remember this. Pressure is not punishment. It is preparation. When Henry Ford's first companies failed, when Walt Disney was told he had no imagination, when Steve Jobs was fired from his own company, each of them faced the crushing weight of rejection. And each of them rose again, stronger, sharper, unstoppable. So here is the truth you need to tattoo onto your soul. You cannot control how many times you fall. You cannot control how many storms crash into your life. But you always control whether you rise again. And that choice, that stubborn, defiant choice, will change everything. The question is not, will life knock you down? It will. The question is, will you rise again? Will you force yourself to stand, bruised but unbroken, battered but breathing, uncertain but still moving forward? Because if you do, the same ground that tried to bury you will become the foundation of your greatness. When you rise again, you ignite something far greater than momentum. You awaken power. Power that was dormant when you were comfortable. Power that only pain could summon. And this is why the fall is never the end, it is the invitation. The invitation to discover the strength you never knew was hiding inside you. Think about steel. It is useless without fire. It is soft, shapeless, fragile. But when it is forced into the flames, beaten under the hammer, cooled and reforged, it becomes unbreakable. The same principle is written into your life. Every setback, every heartbreak, every betrayal is the hammer and the fire. And you are the steel. You can either stay weak, shattered, discarded, or you can let the process harden you into something unshakable. Napoleon Hill once wrote that every adversity carries with it the seed of equal or greater benefit. Most people never rise to find that benefit. They collapse, complain, surrender to bitterness, and call it fate. But those who rise again, those who force themselves through the flames, find that the very thing meant to destroy them became the reason they became unstoppable. You might be carrying scars right now. Scars from failure. Scars from people who doubted you, laughed at you, betrayed you. Scars from the nights where you cried alone and told yourself it was over. But scars are proof of survival, not weakness. They are medals of honor that whisper, I was broken, but I rose again. And if you carry them with pride, they will remind you every day that you are capable of facing hell and coming out alive. Understand this, rising again doesn't always mean roaring back with immediate victory. Sometimes it's crawling forward an inch when your body wants to collapse. Sometimes it's whispering to yourself in the dark, just one more step, just one more day. Sometimes it's getting up after failure number 10, knowing number 11 may not be the breakthrough. Also knowing that giving up guarantees nothing. Rising again is not about speed, it's about refusal. Refusal to stay down. Refusal to let defeat have the last word. Consider Nelson Mandela. 27 years locked away in a cell, stripped of freedom, stripped of dignity, stripped of time. He could have stayed down. He could have let bitterness consume him. But he rose again not once, not twice, but every single day in that prison cell. And when the gates finally opened, he didn't walk out as a broken man. He walked out as a leader who would change the destiny of a nation. That is the power of refusing to stay down. And here's what makes this philosophy dangerous to doubt, dangerous to fear, dangerous to every force that seeks to keep you small. Once you decide that no fall will finish you, you will become unstoppable. Because then failure loses its teeth. It can bite you, but it cannot consume you. It can knock you down, but it cannot keep you down. You rob defeat of its power the moment you declare, I will rise again, no matter what. So stop asking, why did this happen to me? Stop asking, why is life unfair? Those questions keep you on the ground. Instead, ask, how can I use this? What can this teach me? How can I turn this wound into wisdom, this fall into fuel? Because that is how you turn tragedy into triumph. That is how you take the ashes of what was lost and build a future greater than what you imagined. And do not wait for someone to lift you. Do not wait for applause, support, or permission. Heroes are not born from comfort, they are forged in solitude. The world may not notice when you rise the first time, or the 10th time, or even the 100th time. But understand this, you are not rising for them. You are rising for you, for your destiny, for your soul. Every time you force yourself up, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than you thought, braver than you imagined, and more resilient than you believed. That is how confidence is built, not from ease, not from praise, but from surviving what should have destroyed you. And with every rise, you become a force the world cannot ignore. So let this truth thunder inside you. Falling is not failure. Staying down is. Defeat is never permanent unless you accept it. Pain is never wasted unless you surrender to it. The ground may catch you when you fall. It was never meant to keep you there. Your place is higher. Your place is forward. Your place is rising again and again and again until the summit bows beneath your footsteps. Life will test you. It will strip you bare. It will break your plans. It will blindside you when you least expect it. And in those moments, you will hear a voice inside that says, "Stay down. It's over. You're not strong enough." That voice is the echo of fear, the whisper of mediocrity, the poison of a world that wants you average. But you must answer it with defiance. You must answer it with action. You must answer it by rising. Because here is the truth that separates winners from the defeated. The winner doesn't rise. Because they feel strong, they rise even when they feel weak. They don't rise because they have certainty, they rise because they refuse to quit. They don't rise because the road is clear, they rise because the road exists. And the act of rising itself creates the strength, the clarity, and the certainty they need. Thomas Edison failed more than 10,000 times before he succeeded in creating the light bulb. Imagine if he had stayed down after attempt number 1,000. Imagine if he had listened to the voices that said, "You failed too much. It's impossible." He rose again and again and again until he brought light to the world. You walk under his legacy every time you flick a switch, proof that persistence creates miracles. But persistence is not born in the comfort of victory. It is born in the agony of defeat. It is forged in the humiliation of loss. It is created in the long, dark nights where nobody is watching, where quitting looks easy, where silence surrounds you and only your will remains. Those who rise again in the silence, in the solitude, in the suffering, those are the ones who one day stand in the spotlight of triumph. And here is the law. You will not rise once. You will rise countless times. The higher you climb, the more you will fall. The greater your vision, the greater your trials. Success does not reduce the storms, it invites them. But every rise makes you tougher. Every comeback makes you sharper. Every return makes you wiser. Until one day, you realize the storms no longer scare you because you have become the storm. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He lost elections. He lost businesses. He lost loved ones. He battled depression. By any measure, he should have stayed down. But he rose again, and his persistence carried him into the White House, where he became one of the greatest leaders the world has ever known. History does not remember the times he fell, it remembers that he refused to stay down. The same is true for you. 10 years from now, nobody will remember how many times you failed. They will remember the moment you refused to quit. They will remember the moment you rose, bloodied but unbroken, and turned the tide. Your scars will fade, but your story will remain a story of resilience, of refusal, of relentless rising. And understand this, rising again requires discipline. Discipline when your emotions betray you. Discipline when your body aches. Discipline when your mind screams for comfort. Discipline when nobody is clapping, nobody is cheering, nobody is watching. Because discipline is not about the easy days, it is about the hard ones. It is about choosing to get up, choosing to fight, choosing to rise, even when the weight of the world tells you to stay down. Discipline is the silent muscle of greatness. It doesn't shout. It doesn't brag. It doesn't announce itself. It simply rises again and again until the world can no longer deny its presence. And when discipline meets resilience, nothing, no failure, no betrayal, no storm can stop you. So the next time life throws you down, do not curse it. Do not pity yourself. Smile through the blood. Laugh through the tears. And whisper to yourself, this is my moment. This is my test. This is my fire. Because every time you rise again, you prove to life itself that it cannot break you. And that proof, repeated enough times, transforms you into a legend. There is a sacred power hidden inside the act of rising again, a power that most will never taste, because most surrender too soon. They confuse a single fall with a final defeat. They believe that being knocked down is the end. But champions know the truth. The fall is not the end. The fall is the invitation. The fall is the call to awaken something greater inside you. Think of the seed buried in the soil. From the outside, it looks like death, buried under the weight of the earth, covered in darkness, forgotten by the world above. But within, there is life, there is strength, there is growth. That seed must force itself upward, breaking the soil, breaking the resistance, breaking the silence until it emerges as a tree that shades generations. And so it is with you. The darkness you face is not your grave. It is your soil. You are being buried to grow. You are being pressed to rise. History is carved by those who understood this truth. Henry Ford went bankrupt 5 times before revolutionizing the automobile industry. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination before building the greatest creative empire the world has ever seen. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in a prison cell before walking out to lead his nation into freedom. What do these giants have in common? They rose again and again and again. Your life will demand the same. The universe is not cruel, it is precise. It gives you trials to shape you. It gives you setbacks to teach you. It gives you failures to prepare you. But the question is not whether the universe will test you, the question is whether you will rise again. And here lies the secret. Every rise requires vision. You cannot rise for nothing. You cannot rise for approval. You cannot rise for applause. Those things are too weak to sustain you. You must rise for a vision that burns inside you like fire. You must rise for a purpose that is larger than your pain. You must rise for a dream that refuses to die, even when everything else collapses. Vision is what pulled Martin Luther King Jr. through jail cells and death threats. Vision is what carried Helen Keller beyond blindness and silence to inspire millions. Vision is what allowed Steve Jobs, after being fired from the very company he built, to rise again and revolutionize technology. Vision is not optional. It is oxygen for the soul. Without it, you suffocate in mediocrity. With it, you can endure any storm. But vision alone is not enough. You must act. You cannot rise in theory. You cannot rise in imagination. You must rise in motion. You must take the first step, no matter how heavy your legs feel. You must take the first breath, no matter how much your chest aches. You must take the first swing, no matter how much your arms tremble, because momentum is born not from waiting, from moving. And once you move, life itself will move with you. The ancient samurai had a saying, fall 7 times, rise 8. It was not just a proverb. It was their way of life. They understood that the mark of a warrior is not invincibility, it is resilience. You don't need to win every battle. You don't need to be flawless. You simply need to refuse to stay down. That refusal, repeated over years, transforms you into a force no failure can conquer. And when you rise again, do not rise bitter. Do not rise angry at the world. Rise grateful. Grateful for the lesson the failure gave you. Grateful for the wisdom the pain carved into you. Grateful for the chance to rise at all, because millions did not wake up this morning with the same chance. Gratitude is not weakness, it is power. It turns setbacks into stepping stones. It transforms obstacles into opportunities. It converts loss into leverage. Gratitude allows you to see that every fall was not punishment, preparation. So when you rise again, rise with vision, rise with action, rise with gratitude, and rise with the quiet conviction that you are unstoppable, not because life is easy, but because you refuse to yield.